Hey guys, welcome back. It's time. We're taking a look at the birds. I've had a few people reach out. A few people like, hey, Rattle, what the hell? Why are you not talking about the birds, the test birds that are graded by PSA? And I needed to do a little bit of research, and we're on it. We're on it. Now, these are cool things. And again, this is I don't know what's going on with the test prints recently. They're popping up everywhere. They're a thing. They're cool. The story is cool, but we want to know the whole story. We want to know the whole story. Ideally, we want to know where they're coming from, how many there are, all of that stuff. So again, if you're buying this stuff, if you're in the market for this stuff, if you're buying it, if you're selling it, you want to know what's going on here because again, there could be some hidden information. There is definitely some information here that is, I would argue, pretty damn hidden. Why is PSA all of a sudden grading test prints when they typically did not grade anything that wasn't actually released? Are they competing with CGC? Are they trying to get back? What's going on here? We got the great grading wars of weird stuff going on and missing information. So anytime something's a test print, anytime something's a prototype, you gotta be pretty weary because if it's coming from somewhere, there could be a jillion of them. It could be the person that has these that is telling the story that is also selling the cards. We saw that with prototype Blastoise. We saw that with Shell, who was telling the story, didn't know the story, used as a reference for the story, but then was selling copies of the card, or at least one copy of the card, through someone else in a secret decret. But we found that out. We're gonna look into this. And it's just be careful. Be careful with any of this stuff if you're buying or selling it. Not to mention also the fact that these bad boys are freshly graded. They're immediately graded. They're immediately being tossed onto Golden. Now, I'm not saying that Golden isn't a reputable source, but sometimes they have a secret decret sales that they use as a reference. And sometimes an illustrator sells for $2 million, seemingly belongs to the same person, and then it sells for $400K. Not suspicious, pretty suspicious. But let's go through here. Okay. I gotta get it out in the open. I'm not saying that any of this stuff. When I'm critical of this stuff, I'm critical of the details. I'm critical of the hidden details, not the fact that they're real or fake. I believe that these are real. These are real test prints, that they exist. I don't know how many exist. That's where you got to be hesitant. All right. That and when something gets graded and immediately tossed onto Golden at an auction. Skepticism. My skepticism is definitely in full alert. Now, let's go through the description here. Now, descriptions for auction companies, it doesn't matter what the auction company is, they are going to stroke the living hell out of this thing to make it look as big as possible, as awesome as possible. So, always take it with a grain of salt. But there is some important information here. Let's see what we got. Offered is a collection of 3 ultra elusive 1997 Pokemon Japanese fossil test issue collectibles depicting the 3 legendary birds of the Kanto region, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Each card has been encapsulated and assessed authentic by PSA, with each item representing the lone example of its kind recorded in PSA census reporting. No other cards, 97 Pokemon Japanese fossil test issue cards, have been validated by PSA. Yeah, a whole lot of not very many test type things have been by PSA. The legendary birds made their official. I don't know if that even was that important to include. The legendary birds made their official trading card game debuts in the Japanese Mystery of the Fossils production, making these obscenely hard to find pieces the first appearances of the iconic pocket monsters, drawn by the renowned illustrator Ken Sugimori. The design for the legendary birds on these glossy prototype cards emanates from the Pokemon trading card game Game Boy game. The official fossil production arrived with different representations of the trio, with the coveted Pokemon phone card promo collectibles from the 1999 International Tropical Mega Battle, later utilizing these charming designs of the fossil test issue pieces. It almost seems like, I don't know if they used AI to assist with writing this, but it's feeling like maybe I'm just like I'm always like looking on the lookout for like someone that uses AI to write or draw or anything like that. The Moltres card exhibits the most evidence of being a test print card, with a bar featuring 2 additional images of Moltresses across the lower portion of the fire/flying type Pokemon's depiction, and 97 lightly printed over the Pokemon's head. These 3 cards, which originate from the personal collection of Takumi Akabane, one of the creators of the Pokemon trading card game, are amongst the rarest items in the Pokemon collecting specialty, and they would instantly elevate any Pokemon collection to the stratosphere of the hobby. Jesus. The cards display a lightly circulated manner of appearance with no 2 small areas of white specks appearing on the back of the cards. So, like, I mean, condition doesn't matter a whole lot on this stuff unless there's a whole bunch that are in better shape than this. I think you got to be more concerned with the amount that are in. So it's saying that it came from his collection. It doesn't say that's him selling it. So did he sell it to someone? And then we got some evidence that leads me to believe there might be at least 3 sets of these that exist. Could be more. I don't know. So, has anyone ever seen these cards? We had some Reddit threads about how people mostly thought they were fake because they look like the phone cards, but they're not the phone cards. Then we got the E4 thread here. We'll take a look at this. Let's see if we can just move it over a little bit and get it more centered on the screen for us. We got the birds here. So, very cool. It would be kind of cool if they all had the weird bar thing going on, but they don't. We got this post by PFM, Legendary Birds GB art. Some new information surfaced about cards that have up to now been unknown. The artwork of the 3 legendary birds above is from the Pokemon trading card game 2 Game Boy game. These artwork are best known for being featured on the Tropical Mega Battle phone cards as shown below. So we've seen these kind of pop up a lot recently too. That's kind of been a thing. Yesterday, Takumi Akabane, one of the original TCG developers, posted this to Instagram. So we have a photo here of a Moltres. It's got the bar there. It's got the Inky Dinky on his face. This doesn't look like it's the same copy. So it looks like there's at least 3 Moltresses that exist, which is interesting. Okay, this is Moltres number 2. At least from what I see, it looks like the centering is not the same. It doesn't look like this is the same card. There's like a little mark or something here. So possible that he had multiple sets. Possible that he has multiple of these cards. I don't know how many exist. No, I don't know if anyone knows how many exist, because as we'll see here, there's one that's going to show up in a cool dude little lot here. And be careful buying these. Be careful buying weird stuff. Sometimes the weird stuff can be fake. Maybe you end up hitting the jackpot and you get something like this. This Ken Sugimori art is used in Rocket's Moltres. However, this is the first time art with this background has appeared on a regular card. Note the weird artifacts on it, suggesting it may be a prototype. This post was followed up by a set of Instagram stories from Linkdo83 that show a set of all 3 birds on glossy cardstock. Below is the stories that have been transcribed here to preserve the information and make it more accessible. So, I was under the impression that the Linkdo copies were the ones that got graded by PSA, the ones that were being sold immediately after being graded, after being authenticated. So here we have a nice little story here, and again, this is probably where that Reddit thread came from. It's now deleted, or we can't see what it was exactly. Maybe we can Wayback Machine, but not as important. What we're looking at here, we got a nice little post by Linkdo that says, "Hello, as some people are asking me pictures and information about the 3 mysterious cards I was talking about yesterday in a comment of a new Takumi Akabane's Instagram post. Here we are. Please read the whole story. It is quite cool. But first, some context. Earlier this year, there was a listing on Yahoo Japan with a lot of random cards, vending Korokoro WHF promo, hollow and non-hollow cards, and 3 mysterious cards, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, which looked quite weird." Nice. All right. So they do exist. Apparently you can find them in the wild. And I guess the biggest danger is if you're paying a lot of money and under the impression that the golden set are the only ones that exist. They aren't. Again, maybe there's 2 sets. Maybe there's 50 sets. No idea. And then the whole Japanese end of things, like with the English print stuff, with Wizards of the Coast, there was like a scrap table from all the lore, all the WotC lore, where people could just bring home whatever they wanted. You see that with a lot of the disco sheets. People that worked there could just bring them home, cut them up, give them to their kids, that kind of thing. With the Japanese end of things, if somebody's working on it, I have no idea. It's hard to say. Maybe there's a whole sheet of them. You would think there would be at least a whole sheet of them made, but I don't know if we'll ever know that much. And even if we talk to somebody that would have known, do they still remember? It's many years ago at this point. When it's 20 or more years, chances are a lot of those details could be lost to time, whether or not it's intentional. It is what it is. Hello, as some people are asking me, so we got a nice little convenient PFM. We got the whole kind of like series of messages here. We're going to read through them. I think they're important for the sake of the history of this item. Again, I think any and every bit of the information on this, it's weird that like PSA didn't put out an article before tossing this stuff on Golden. I don't know if that's by design, if they want it to be more mysterious and more like crazy and like crap, we don't want people to realize that there's more than the one set of these. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. But it seems rushed. Instead of like putting out an article and having like, there's a statement. We have the statement from the employee or someone that would know that these things exist, that they do exist, that they do own copies of it, that they didn't previously own the copies that are being sold immediately after being graded by PSA, or authenticated rather. Piecing it all together. Hello, some people are asking me pictures and information about the 3 mysterious cards I was talking about yesterday in a comment of a new Takumi Akabane's Instagram post. Here we are. Please read the whole story. It is quite cool, but first some context. Earlier this year, there was a listing on Yahoo Japan with a lot of random cards vending Koro Koro, WHF promo, holo, and non-holo cards, and 3 mysterious cards, Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, which looked quite weird. The seller was a random seller who sold a lot of random non-Pokemon stuff, like the seller in 2014 who sold the famous prototype/test e-cards. So I remembered this listing and said to myself, even if the 3 legendary birds look 99% weird/fake cards, those are really nice, and I already didn't bid on the 2014 listing. So we bid this time. Nobody was interested, and I was the only one who made a bid. I don't know if he says how much they went for, but that'd be pretty wild if they went cheap. When I received the cards, I was really surprised by the quality of the 3 legendary bird cards. I have never seen fake cards like that. They were glossy, showed the characteristics of a card which was peeled from a sheet, and the printing quality was like a regular glossy card. But they still looked weird/fake because there was a bug/error on the Moltres illustration, including a 97 printed on his head, and the Zapdos illustration was off-centered. Only the Articuno looked normal. Cool to know. The backside of the cards was slightly unusual too, and last but not least, those 3 cards were completely unknown. I talked about them with some people. Nobody ever saw those cards or fake cards like that, so I put them in a portfolio, hoping that maybe one day I will know where they came from, and even if they were fake, they were really nice. I mean, if it was part of a collection and the rest of the collection kind of made sense to purchase the collection without those, and those were kind of a bonus on top, then it's not really anything to lose, right? Yesterday, Takumi Akabane, one of the 4 creators of the Pokemon TCG, aka Bayonet 1965, who already shared some early design Pokemon cards earlier this year, randomly posted a strange Moltres on his Instagram page. Ooh. I was really surprised, first because I would never thought that Akabane would show one of those cards, then because it could confirm that my 3 mysterious cards are not fake after all. I commented on his Instagram post to gain some attention so he could notice the message I sent to him. I asked if I could provide some information about these strange cards, so maybe we will have some interesting information in the future. So now you know the story. Here are some close pictures of the 3 cards. So yeah, to know, I guess, more, if he does know any more about like the history of how they came to be, or why they weren't used, or what was going on, or who printed them, or exactly, was it a test print to see like, should we do these? Were they testing materials? What were they doing? What was going on here? I think all of that would be really, really interesting. But regardless, pretty cool that they do exist in card form. This is like some niche stuff here that you're getting into. I compared the printing rosette pattern on the cards with regular cards on 1200 DPI scans. The front sides match. Moreover, you can clearly see the black layer was printed above the rosettes, like on regular cards. For the back side, this is more difficult because the back is slightly different, but the printing process looks normal, and there's also the black layer printed above the rosettes. So some collectors and I concluded that the cards seem real, in the sense that the Moltres card can't be a fake card of the Akabane's Moltres. Moreover, it would make no sense to perfectly fake some cards that are completely unknown. Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily go with that path, but it would be weird to just have to not be selling these at a premium or as a separate thing. There's a lot of stuff that went on. There's a lot of with any of this stuff, definitely treat it with the most doubt you possibly can until it's confirmed real. And then when it is confirmed real, take every sale or every kind of quantity, definitely quantity, and the history of where it came from. Take it all with a grain of salt, because there can easily be some vested interest here, where if the person telling the story, like Shell with the prototype Blastoise, or anything like that, where if they own copies of it, it's not that they are necessarily lying. It's weird when the stories are different between different people that they've talked to, but take it all with a grain of salt. And when there's conflicting stories, like there was recently with the CGC stuff with the pre-release Raichu, my expectation is that if a grading company, if PSA, if CGC is going to put out an article, include all of that information. Even if it's conflicting, it's still important, because it might be one story might, even if they completely, one has to be true. If one's true, then the other can't be true. I think it's best to include all of it. Maybe both are true. They were just separate events. Who knows? But to have all the information there, not sugarcoat it, and if it's coming from if the person selling it did they buy it from them? That's the consignment services can be pretty sketch, largely because they're not going to disclose who's selling the item. And if somebody wants to sell an item and not have people know that it's them selling it, whether they're ashamed of the fact that they worked at Wansea, or they own copies of the card, they don't want people to know that they own copies of the card. There's a lot that's hidden there. I don't know if you guys have been able to tell yet, but be cautious here with any of this stuff, regardless of how real it is. Thanks for reading. I hope you appreciate it, and that you are as pleased to me to discover new cards even nowadays. Do not hesitate to contact me if you have more information. The cards are not for sale. Thanks. So, yeah, I remember seeing this and then being like, what? They're not for sale, but then all of a sudden they're for sale. But update 1.22.24, they have been graded at PSA. So from what I've seen, these are not the same boys. All right, what we got here? They have been graded at PSA. Very cool. We have, I just received an email notification. Thanks for sharing this here. I hope you corrected all my mistakes too. If some people here know more information or raise doubts about those cards, do not hesitate to share them. P.S. The quality of the pictures is terrible because I took some screenshots of my phone to write my stories. Maybe I can send you pictures in their high original resolution. Pretty cool stuff. Let's give it a scroll down. Thanks, everyone. This is cool to discover new cards after all those years. Here are the pictures in their original resolution. Very cool. We got some nice glossy boys. I don't know. I guess it's important, history-wise, whether stuff is glossy or not glossy. Sometimes there's glossy versions and non-glossy versions of the same card, depending on where they come from. But I don't know. The glossy weirds me out. I'm glad that all Pokemon cards are not glossy like that. Later today or during the weekend, I will try to edit a comparison between some parts of the Akabane Moltres 1200 DPI scan with the Fossil Moltres and the Vending Glossy card scans. I will not upload a full HD scan of the Akabane Moltres card on the internet. This is a bad idea. By the way, I think the first appearance of the three birds with this design is not in the Pokemon TCG game, but instead in the May 1997 issue of the Koro Koro magazine. Very, very cool. We got some more thoughts and stuff here. If anyone would like to give it a pause and read them, they're welcome to do so. This is some pretty cool stuff. Here's, I guess, a close-up of the Moltres. We got the 97 on his head. Pretty neat. It'd be cool to know exactly why that was happening. I mean, it was probably just like dates and stuff like that. That maybe it was on. Maybe it's underneath. Maybe it's on top. I'm not sure. I guess that's something that you'd almost need. Might have to inspect it under magnification. I mean, we got a pretty good scan right here. Be interesting to know exactly what was going on and why the other birds don't have the weird bottom thing. If they were printed on the same sheet, all of that would be pretty cool to know. All right, we got the graded copies here. The set is currently up for sale on Golden. Link due here says, hey, just for information, those are not my cards. According from the Golden description, they came from Akabane himself. Yeah, so they don't mention if it's like, it says it came from his collection. It doesn't say if it's directly coming from his collection. It's or if he sold them to someone and then they're selling them. But good to know if Akabane gave the information. We are now sure that the cards are test cards from the 1997 fossil set. So to know exactly what they were testing, who tested them, where they came from, who owned it, did he sell them to someone, did he give them to something? Like the fact that it's like immediately for sale, still setting off the red flags for me. Let me know what you guys think. Again, it's cool to see this stuff. I don't want anyone to get the impression that like, oh, Rattle hates test prints and the history of Pokemon. I don't. I just want all the details. And you got to be hesitant until you have all of those details, because a lot of that is important. Who owned it? Who sold it? Who has vested interest? It's always a concern. And yes, it can taint some stuff like this. But it'll be interesting to see what they sell for, and if more pop up. It wouldn't surprise me if counterfeits start to pop up of these. Anything that's expensive or crazy or whatever, typically that kind of stuff does. But I mean, the glossy, I don't know, they'd be hard to counterfeit. But be careful if you think you're all of a sudden finding one of these bad boys on Facebook Marketplace. You're probably not. All right, that's all I got. I'm going to be doing some Ruby and Sapphire gameplay this week, probably Monday through Thursday. Then we got the opening on Friday. So we'll be streaming every night. I'm going to see if there's important stuff like this that I wanted this a little bit more time sensitive. Probably get those videos out. But the videos will be light. If they're missing, it's because we're going to be streaming in the evening, playing some Pokemon. Change it up a little bit. Always got to keep it fresh, do something different, enjoy another aspect of Pokemon. So join me for that if you can. If it's scheduled, I will stick a link to that down below. I'll see if I can get that scheduled before this video goes out. I'll schedule it down below so you can set a reminder for that if you want to come hang out. We're just going to be playing through. I am not a speedrunner extreme. It's going to be probably a pretty casual playthrough. We'll see how it goes. Should be fun regardless. Join the Discord. See you next time. Bye.